Welcome on in. Welcome to Reading Between the Wines. It is Wind Down Wednesday, May 7th. Welcome on in. We have a very special show tonight, which we always do every single night, but this is going to be a great episode tonight. We have our first mentorship guest coming in tonight. Author Birdman 313 will be joining me tonight, so you'll get to get his perspective on all of these burning questions and things that we have coming in here tonight. And of course, we're sampling some great wine. I have some Pinot Grigio tonight, and I love Wind Down Wednesday because it's Wednesday and I really want to wind down because this is it's a lot of work to put this thing together. So yeah, it's good. It's a good time to wind down today and just relax, unwind a little bit because it's been only a couple days. But let me tell you, it's a lot of work to make this thing go round. But I wouldn't have it any other way. And I want to say thank you so much to everybody who is joining in, coming in. If you can please do me a favor, please like, comment, share, subscribe, tag a friend, invite them on in. Welcome into Reading Between the Wines, Wind Down Wednesday. We're going to speak about, is it a smart start or is it a setback? Episode 9, smart start or setback. But before we go ahead and get started, I want to give a very special thank you to sir, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Thank you for giving me another opportunity to come out here and give each and every one of you the Reading Between the Wines and the 4-1 podcast. Also, very special thank you to Mr. Nori, Mr. Jonathan Martin Ives, Alex Coquito all the way from Puerto Rico, Miss SOS. I want to give a very special thank you to my niece, Okita. Thank you for holding me down. Miss Sophie Davis, all the way from the UK. And hopefully I have this name right, Anthony Cheney. Thank you all so much for supporting. I appreciate you. Again, please like, comment, share, subscribe, tag a friend, invite them in because we got some great wisdom. We got some great information that's going to be coming through your screen here. So thank you for joining in. Now, I want to go ahead and give a recap from last night. We spoke about freeing yourself. We brought on Miss Fantasia from her debut album, Free Yourself. So the question that I asked each and every one of you is, what are you going to free yourself from? Just think about your situation. Think about whether it's financial issues, whether it's any mental struggles you've been dealing with, whether it's any physical struggles you've been dealing with. What is one thing that you're going to, free yourself from? What is one thing that you would like to free yourself from? It was health versus wealth last night. And just think about the things that we consume. The things that we consume, they affect both our health and our wealth. So you want to know where you're deploying most of your resources. You want to know where it's going. You want to know where you're investing your time. You want to know where you're investing your money. And depending on what you invest in, you can either make yourself or you can break yourself. For example, I discussed about the fast food situation. I will be the first to admit that I love to eat, and I had a little bit of a fast food addiction back in the day, especially when I was, traveling and on the road. So when we think about health versus wealth, is it going to be fast food, or are you going to, start to make some home cooked meals or make some better, nutritional decisions? Is it going to be Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, all of those different things? Or, you're going to be able to have enough money at the end to do healthier food choices. A lot of people, when it comes to health versus wealth, they can't make those healthier food choices because of all of those things that I just named. Like they have to have every single subscription. They have to, go to every single function. And then when it comes to everyday living, when it comes to the things that they need, they will lack on that. So we will first compromise, the things that we need for things that we don't need. Entertainment versus education. How about that? Not saying that, we're going to be, straight and square all the time. Doesn't have to be learning, 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 but you really should be investing in yourself. So education versus entertainment. What is one thing that you're going to free yourself from? I spoke about, some of the people that come through and they're like, Laren, I have no idea, that I have these extra subscriptions that I have signed up for. There's a specific app out there. I'm not quite sure what the name of it is, but you can put it on your phone. And when you put it on your phone, you'll be able to tell, what type of subscriptions you have signed up for. So I went through this, process with, someone I was coaching. But then the question was, how deep is it? How deep are you really in it that you need to rely on an app to tell you what you signed up for, to rely on an app to let you know where your money is going? You should know that ahead of time. You really shouldn't need, technology to let you know where your money is going. So, health versus wealth. What are some things that you are going to give up? We spoke about the gym membership last night. We helped Mr. Marcus. Meal plans, special nutrition bars, shakes, things like that. Again, I'm not saying that that's something that you shouldn't have, but a healthy balance. I spoke about experience as a good teacher, Miss Mickey Howard, and it takes someone like me to know. So when someone is giving you some information, when someone is giving you some knowledge and they've been there before, and again, I'm not saying that I'm an expert on all of these areas, but just keep that in mind. Experience is a good teacher, and it takes someone like me to know. We're going to move right on into the song of the day, Optimistic. The Sounds of Blackness, released in 1991 off of the Evolution of Gospel album. So when we think about optimism, I love this song because you really got to think from this different perspective. And if you were anything like me where you're a little pessimistic back in the day, play this record. Play this record over and over and over again until you can get it into your mindset. Is it going to be a setback or is it going to be a setup? When we think about the situations that we have going on, we sometimes can be our own worst enemies. I know I was for so many years. So optimism is the best thing that you can have. I got good and sick and tired of myself. I was very pessimistic. I was very negative. I was very everything else but positive. So at one point I said, okay, listen, I've been doing this for so many years. This way isn't working. Let me go ahead and try something different. What else do I have to lose? So if you're in a situation where you're good and sick and tired of yourself and you might be stuck and you might not know what to do and you might be feeling as if just that, you might just be feeling as if, just think about that. What is the next level? What's the next thing that you can possibly do? If you've been so pessimistic, if you've been so down, if you've been so low, where did it get you? What's the next thing? Optimism. The opposite of it, fear versus faith. Both of them, you can't see, you can't smell, you can't touch. Both of them will make you feel one way or the other. You're going to feel down in the dumps or you're going to feel up and uplifted. Both of them, neither one of them has gotten here yet. It's what's going to happen in the future, the path that we're going to get to in the future. So you choose. It's just so simple. You have the choice. We have Mr. Author Birdman 313 coming in tonight. And we have this good wine here. I have Dream Bird Pinot Grigio. And I'm going to go ahead and get through this here. And hopefully without spilling anything. Because I'll tell you, behind the scenes, when I was recording a couple shows prior, it was a little interesting. And I haven't had anything to drink yet. So we'll just go ahead and get through this here. Dreambird Pinot Grigio. This is the estate selection. Dreambird Pinot Grigio is an exciting fruit-driven everyday white, full of peaches, apricots, and other stone fruits. This is one of the finest quality Pinot Grigios around. Should you enjoy it with a wide range of white meats, salads, milder cheeses, or we really recommend this to get, wow, excuse me, or we really recommend this, get stuck into it at a party. Let the dream bird fly. Dreambird Wine supports local children's charities for them to have a better chance for a future. That's one of the main reasons why I picked up this bottle of wine, because I saw that it did donate to local charities. So, and it is vegan friendly for people out there who are vegetarians. I never quite understood that when it comes to vegan wines. I will have to do some more research in that, because can someone please help me? Let me know, drop in the comments. Vegan wine, I've had it before. I've had it in Arizona actually, but I don't quite understand it because there's no meat in any of the wines. I don't know why. This is just like hitting me right now here today, but I don't get the vegan wine thing. So again, anybody out there who understands and knows that, I probably should know this information. Um, Hit me up and let me know, because I don't know what that is, what that means. So I'm going to go ahead and sample this wine. And also, we have a book review that I'm going to be going over tonight. And we'll be pulling in Birdman as well to see what his thoughts are on this book. And he can help me get through this. But the book that we are going to be previewing tonight is Budgeting 101. It is a crash course in budgeting. So anyone out there who is afraid of budgeting, nervous about the word budgeting or budgets, that makes so many people on edge. You probably want to stick around to hear about this book here. I will say that this is an easy read, and it has tons and tons and tons and tons of information in it. And it probably is going to be one of my go-tos that, I put on my bookshelf from here on out, a good reference point. So we have Dreambird Pinot Grigio wine, and we're also going to be reviewing Budgeting 101, a crash course in budgeting. All right, so Dreambird Pinot Grigio, the average price of this wine is about $6.99, and wines of this caliber equivalent, you're going to get about maybe $13 to $15 per bottle. And this is from the Pinot Grigio grape, and this is from Romania. 12.5% alcohol content. This is probably a medium bodied wine. The reviews say very dry. It smells very good. Very dry, very good. And it's going to lean more towards the acidic side. Notes of peach, apple, melon, citrus, lemon, lime, kiwi, pineapple. This wine pairs well with poultry, pasta, appetizers, and snacks, mild and soft cheeses. It even, stated that on a bottle as well, and cured meats. Community reviews give it about maybe a 3.4 out of 5 stars. So while I'm sampling this wine, we're going to go ahead and try to get Mr. Birdman up, and I will let you know what the reviews are with this. Good wine, good wine. I like it, and it's not too dry. I don't see it being super, super, super dry, but I like it. I can rock with this. So, cheers, everybody. Wine down with me tonight, and welcome in, Mr. Birdman. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Good, good, good. You sound nice and crisp and clear, just like this wine. So we're on point tonight. I feel good.
Okay.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Thank you for coming on in. Um, so, do you have any wine tonight?
No, I I kind of like to stop drinking for a while. So I don't have no wine. I don't have no whiskey. I don't have no scotch, no beer, no nothing but water
What was your go to? I mean, I'm not want to be a bad influence, so I know I asked you this
Oh no.
before you came in. So, what was your go to drink when you were sampling? We'll put it that way.
Oh, it's funny because my dad drink Johnny Walker, and so one of my sons, that's what he loves to drink. So whenever we get together, we would always get Johnny Walker, and
Mm,
Crown Royal was one. Crown, rather, just put say Crown. Um,
hmm.
Hennessy, Cavassier.
Oh, you doing it up? I know all of those things.
You
I didn't
know, yeah,
really
yeah,
didn't
and
really
because
mess with them.
I haven't drinking beer in like been like 10, 12 years now.
Okay.
So, and then I kind of like start drinking, and I mean we drink tequila now. Whenever we hang out, I may have a drink with them, and it's just a little bit, and it's tequila. But
Mm,
most of the time, they know it, and they cool with it because it's more for them.
right.
As they say, it's more for them now that I don't drink with them. So I'm cool with that. I feel a whole lot better since I stopped drinking, and
Oh,
um, and I can't say my bank account is a little bit bigger since I stopped drinking. But hey, I don't knock nobody. You have
I
to live and learn. You have to live and learn.
Yeah, I know that's right. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I wanted to touch base on that too. So thank you for bringing that up. So I want to be very clear. Even though I sample wine, I was just doing a lot of it. I was doing a lot when I first started this show. I was drinking, like, I'm not going to say every night because that would be inaccurate, but multiple times, like three, four times maybe. And it was just the wrong direction. It was the wrong messaging. So everyone out there, you have to, be responsibly. There was a point where I had to have my, meeting with my higher power, and I'm like, all right, so the message that I was portraying when I first started was not the message that needs to be out there. So I had to clean things up a lot, and it's about drinking responsibly. So I have one glass of wine for the show. I do it once or twice, a week, and that's pretty much it. And I had drank so much wine in the beginning that when I stopped podcasting and I took some time for myself, I didn't touch wine for like 6 months. I didn't even want it. I drank so much wine. So yeah, responsibly. This is not something where we're just gonna be reckless about it. And thank you so much for bringing up about the bank account, because yeah, that's going to be one of the biggest things that will take away your money. Smoking, whether you smoking cigarettes or you smoking weed or you're drinking, all of those things you have to let. I have a saying that I said, you can have a little bit of everything that you want in life. You just can't get too crazy over one.
That is so true. Oh, you don't mind if I say something?
Oh, sure, go right ahead.
That was me. I when I got because I'm always wrote. So what I would do is I always had me like 2 or 3 joints laying around with something to drink.
Mm,
And then what happened was I went to an open mic, and with other poets, we'll step outside, blow on. One day I I shouldn't have, and I did. I got up
mm,
on stage, man, and it was like I looked around. It seemed like everybody was like laughing, and I'm like,
mm,
"Oh man!" So I put my head down. I read. I walked off stage, and I was sitting. When I went and sit down, I was mumbling something, and this person said, "What's wrong, man?" I said, "Well, I said, man, you know what? I will not ever smoke or have a drink before I read." I said,
mm.
that's just not. I said, nah, I can't do it no more. And that was like 15 years ago when I did that. And
Yeah.
I just stopped it. And even now, I've had people when I go to Austin, hey man, you wanna smoke one? You wanna drink? I tell them, if I do, and I say, and I let them know, if I do, it'll be after I read, but not before. And they look at me really funny about that. And they said, it seemed like that would relax you and blah blah blah. I'm like, It might relax you, but since I've gotten older, I don't want that. I want to be real. So I don't want to, get a buzz and go up there because it just for me it doesn't feel right.
I know what you mean. I wonder how the artists do it. Um, I just wonder how they do it. But it's amazing.
Because they done it for so long. They done it. That was something that they done for so many years that they feel like the only time they can perform. And I've heard people say, I
Mhm.
cannot get up there and read unless I smoke something or I drink something. It relaxes them.
Mm,
And I just
wow.
say, hey man, before every performance, I say a prayer, hey. And then I go to the spot. I be on my tablet playing games. That's how I use my relaxation. I be on my tablet or my Kindle, and I'm playing games. And then I wait for them to call me up, and then hey, I go up there and do what I'm gonna do. Then I come back, and now when I go get some, it's water. I was at a festival 2 weeks ago, and one,
Hmm.
one, of, one of the ladies, the poor lady, she said, "Oh, you want a glass of wine?" I said, "No." Nah. I said, "I take water." Water. I'm like, "Yes, water. That's all I want is water." And then she,
Mm.
okay, then. So she brought, man. She asked other people, and a couple of them said, "Hey, just bring me water." And she said, well, "What is wrong with y'all?" I said, "Ain't nothing wrong with that." I said, "To each." I said, "I always say this to people: to each their own.
No,
That's
no,
what
that's
you
right.
want to do. You do it. But for me, it's only gonna be water."
Right, right. I know that makes sense. Yeah, I get it. I'll tell you one of the worst things that I did, and I'm so thankful that I caught myself, and I wasn't drunk or high, anything like that. But when I first started, I used to wear shades on the show, and it was very easy for me to fall asleep. Do you know I fell asleep when I was podcasting? Because sometimes there's the guests that come on. See, I had to learn how to podcast at first because I didn't know.
Yeah.
If I wasn't running off at the mouth, I let my guests run off at the mouth, and that's the worst thing you can do when there was no break or nothing. But this person was just carrying on, carrying on, carrying on, and yeah, sure did. Fell asleep. Not one time, multiple times. Good thing I had those shades on. But then I said, I gotta get myself cleaned up. I gotta get my act together. But yeah,
Yeah.
so I get it.
And I have a
What?
friend, that's the only way he'll go on stage. If he can't put his sunglasses on, he won't go up and read. And I asked him why. He said because he don't want to look out at the crowd, because if he look out at the crowd, it scares him. And I'm like,
Mm,
really? And he's been reading poetry on stage for a long time, like about at least let me see, I met him. I can't remember when I met him. It was like in 2006 when I met him.
mm-hmm.
Or no, no, no. It wasn't that. Yeah, it was back then, and he still gets up on stage with. And I said, man, after all this time, he said, yes, I have to wear my glasses. I'm like, oh well, to each his own, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if he challenges himself to take it off, he'd be surprised at what happens. See, we get stuck in our own ways, and that's one of the biggest issues that we have. Is typically not other people; it's the things that we do.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I told him, hey man, I said, not to be funny, I said, but you're giving people the impression that you're high. I said, you see a lot of musicians when they're wearing shades. I said, you know why they're wearing shades? I said, they're high, man. I said, come on, I said, I hung around a lot. I have hung around and been around a lot of musicians also, and comedians. And whenever I see one with glasses on, that's my first thought. I'm like, oh yeah, he high. That's why he got his shades on. I've read out at the park and I had shades on one time. I better have, she said, why don't you take your shades off? I said, hey, I'm sitting in the sun, And she said, yeah, but she said, but people might think, that you're hiding something. And that's always been a thing for me, been told to me, when you're wearing shades, you hiding something.
Well, they must have thought that I was high every single night when I first started because I wore them for 2 years, and I was just going through a lot during that time frame. So I guess that's where it came from. But yeah, no shades today, no shade. So I got a question for you. Is it a smart start or is it going to be a setback tonight? What do you think?
Oh, for me, it's a smart start.
I know that's right. And I say sometimes a setback could be a setup.
Yes.
Some people think that a setback is a end of the world, but a setback could be a setup. I got this book here, and you are author, and we'll get into some of your works as well tonight. Um, just give me a number. I got this book here, Budgeting 101, a crash course in budgeting. As you're thinking of a number, when you hear the word budget, does that make you nervous? Because I know it makes a lot of my clients nervous, and a lot of people I
No,
know they
not
no.
no
Okay.
more. Not no
Ah,
more.
okay. So just give me a number. A number from one to, let's see here. It's been a minute since I read anything on this show like this. Um, just give me a number from, let's start with nine. Let's start nine all the way to about maybe 250. Just pick a number.
Okay. So you
Let me
said
know when you,
250, right? You said
yeah.
250. Okay. I had to change what I was gonna say then. Let me see. What about 133? And
Okay.
figure out why I said 133.
I got you. I got you. I got you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to learn about beware of cash drains. So, this is from the book Budgeting 101, a crash course on budgeting from Michelle Keegan. She's a CPA. So, beware of cash drains. Oh, this is important too here, especially people who are entrepreneurs, starting their business, starting their side hustle, doing things like that. So, avoid business opportunities that call for large cash and say messed up already. Start over again. Avoid business opportunities that call for large cash investments if you don't have the money saved and embark specifically for this endeavor. You don't want your business to bust your budget before you even had a chance to get started. Take time to create a business plan or at least a mini plan that defines your business, outline the products or service so you'll be providing and their pricing and estimate revenue, sales, and expenses for the first year or two. To make sure you don't overestimate revenues and underestimate expenses in your budget based on minimal sales and maximum cost to make sure you can afford to be in business. And if it doesn't do well, remember to budget for the biggest expense business owners faces, which is taxes. Once you're up and running, you'll find ways to increase sales and maximize profits, adding the reliable extra income for your family budget. You can also get free help for starting your company with everything from creating your business plan to obtaining necessary licenses or permits. The U.S. Small Business Administration offers free seminars, videos, samples, plans and contracts, and low cost loans to small business owners. You can also tap into decades of experience with SCORE, which stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives. This resource offers one on one consulting, mentoring services, and expert advice from experienced professionals. So I don't think I messed that up too bad, but so you have your own business, you're an author. Does any of this stuff here ring a bell when you were first getting started versus now?
Yes, it did. It always have. When I first started getting my books published, I wasn't self-published, so there was a company, and I didn't understand how it worked.
Mm-hmm.
They publish your books and everything, and then on the returns was so little that I just sit back and I got to talking to other people who were doing self-publishing,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to a book festival, and it's funny because It was an author there that published through the same people, and they said, "Oh yeah, this guy here, he's with this company," and I'm like, "Oh yeah," and he said, "You with us?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I said, "Hey, come over to my table, I'll show you the book." He said, "Where one of our representatives at?" And I'm like, "What you mean?" And you see, that's how they would get you. If even though I bought my books in bundles to have, they said you supposed to have one of us come here with you so we can promote the company in your book. And I
Mm.
said, I don't need that. I can promote my own stuff. And they said, no, 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 no. I said, did you read the contract?
See. Mm-hmm.
And I like, I read some of it.
Mm.
And that was my fault. That was my fault because I was so happy that I had got something published and I was doing something that so many people had told me I was a failure at everything.
Mm.
So I learned then, and then he said, "Yeah, well." And then so then I said, "So how I go about that?" He said, "Well, you got to pay for us to come down to any festival. You got to pay for us. We'll bring your books down. You got to pay for the hotel. You got to pay for our meal and transportation. You know." And I'm like, "Oh." And then we was like I said, we was at the book fair, and I said, "Oh hell no!" Like that. Everybody kind of looked at me, and then he said, "Well, since you here, because I had to pay for my, my booth." He said,
Mm-hmm.
but from here on out, he said, this is the things you have to do. And I was like, man, this is crazy. And then it was another guy that was there, and he said, this is why, dude, you need to self-publish. He said, because of stuff like this. They don't tell you, he said, they put it in a contract, but it's in small print and it's hidden and you don't even pay attention to it.
Mm.
So
I think there's something in. Of course it is. And excuse me, I have been sampling a little bit, and it has been an interesting week. So,
yeah,
but there's and I'm not like extremely like on point when it comes to biblical text, but there's something in, I believe it's Matthew or Luke, that says about not counting up the cost before you do anything. Does that
yes,
sound familiar? So
yeah,
that's an example when we start a business or we jump into something and we haven't calculated everything. We haven't set up a plan, and that makes sense because you signed a contract, you jumped into it, you were excited about it. All of a sudden, reality struck, and it was like, okay, what do we do now?
yes. And then when I said I had two books out by them, and I said, okay, my books is not selling, so can I get my my rights back? And they said, they said, let us talk to this person here. We're gonna send it up. We'll let you know. They sent it back, and they said, yeah, you can get your rights back to your poetry, but you have to pay us this amount of money. And I'm like, pay you? Then I said, man, I'm not paying your dime. I said, skip it.
Mm,
You can keep the poems. And then I talked to another author, and he said, dude, let me tell you something. This is what you can do to get around that. They don't want to give you your rights back. He said, all you got to do is change the title, change a few lines and a few words in your poem, and you be all right. And I'm like, really? He said, yeah. I actually did do that. I changed the title of the
mm-hmm,
poem. I went in there. It wasn't nothing identical. I changed all of that. So after about 6 months, they finally got back to me and they said, "Okay, then, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Since you don't, you haven't published none of your books is sold." I said, "Cause I said I've told everybody not to buy my books because I said I I sold two books for $40, which they're not worth that, but for $40, and all I got back was $1.88. And I'm like, no. And so they said, we'll give your rights back. I developed my own cover. They said that's one thing you won't get back is the cover. And I'm like, why? I said, I'm the one that developed it. They said, we give you your poems and that's it. I said,
Mm.
okay. I said, keep it. Because all my book, I think it's only two books. And that's when I went to another one that I have not did my own covers. I do my own, all the pictures you see, I did that. Any of my books you see now, all the books that's on Amazon, all them covers is from me.
Well, this peaceful thoughts one is amazing. This is a nice one.
Thank you.
This is one of my favorite ones, though. So, congratulations on that too. And towards the end of the show, um, maybe we can pick something out of here. Although
Okay.
I was looking at the other one, like, do we do that one tonight? Maybe, but so, hopefully you got your books on hand and you're ready. So you said that budgeting used to scare you. You know, I was
Yes.
speaking of this book, but now it doesn't. Um,
Right.
Check this out. I felt the same way when I used to hear the word budgeting. It would like make me nervous, and I'd be like, whatever, and I wouldn't even do it. I spoke a couple nights ago how I would basically live from paycheck to paycheck. Now you know what scares me today?
What's
Not
that?
not doing a budget.
Oh yeah.
So you know, doing a budget before needing to do a budget would scare me in the beginning. But check this out: the idea of not doing a budget scares me today. See how that goes? Once you learn something and once you get it, now I can't get the idea in my mind of operating without one. Just
Right.
doesn't make sense to me today. What was your breakthrough when you realized that you were nervous about a budget or didn't know anything about a budget and it made you feel a certain way and now it doesn't make you feel that way? When was your breakthrough moment on that?
I think it had to be like, oh man, but uh, I have to say about 13 years ago, right
Mm,
after, well, or a little bit right after my mother passed away, and I wanted to, and it kind of like that sent me in a tailspin for a minute,
mm-hmm,
you know, and I really said I need to sit down and budget my money. Quit going out here just spending it willy nilly and not even seeing nothing in return.
mm,
So I kind of like started really sitting down and seeing how I'm spending my money. Then, like I said, my better half, I got with her, and I always tell people she's helped me out so much with that too, where you know, like I said, when stopping when because she said one time, she said, so if you stop drinking, how much money you think you would save? Just like
mm,
that. And I looked at her, I'm like, I wouldn't say nothing because it's money I'm gonna spend anyway. I spend it on something else. And then not too long ago, I told her, I said, wow, I realized I've been saving money because, hey, man, when I left the house, there wasn't a corner store I didn't stop at and get me a cold one, man. That's how it was. And then I
oh,
start adding it up. I start adding it up, and I'm like, whoa, man, you know what? Now I see why I was always broke. You know?
now now check this out. You just said something that sparked something. You said there wasn't a corner store, so you were probably hitting up every single corner store getting a cold one instead of going and getting you a 12 pack or a 6 pack or whatever. Because
I would do that too. I would have 6 pack at the house. But on the way, I would always stop, get me one, pop it open, and that was just it became a habit, and that was
mm-hmm.
one of the things I decided. I, I, I was in Mississippi when it happened, visiting my cousins, and I said, you know what, man, I gotta stop this because I felt bloated, and I'm like, I gotta stop this. Really,
Mm.
I do. So I did, and like I said, man, I feel a whole lot better. And that little, I mean, even though you can say it's a little change, it adds up though.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
so now I can walk in the store because there was a time I walk into the store and my eyes hit the beer where the beer was at. That was the first thing I beamed to. Now I can walk in the store and just walk by the beer, walk by the wine. I don't go. I go in liquor stores like I said when I visit my sons in San Antonio, but I can go in there and not even say, okay, I'm gonna get me something. I just I really push to condition myself to budget myself from that.
That's what's up. And it was a game changer, and look how much money you save.
Yes.
Mm. Yeah, there's certain things that I don't do as well. I get it. I like I said, I was drinking like several times throughout the night, podcasting and doing all types of stuff. And I'm like, whoa, I need to back this thing up a bit because I started to realize how much money I was spending and doing things reckless. So, yeah, I get it. So, thank you for sharing that as well.
Yeah.
And tonight we're gonna go to Newark, New Jersey, my home state. We're gonna go to Newark a little bit and help out Miss Nia. So Nia, she reads self-help books and finance books, and she has been reading them obsessively, but she still hasn't taken any actual financial action. She's overwhelmed by information, but is underwhelmed in her execution. I'll read that one more time. Nia is reading self-help and financial books obsessively, but still hasn't taken any actual financial action. She's overwhelmed by information and underwhelmed in her execution. So, any advice that you would have for Miss Nia based off of that information? What would
You
you say?
know, I would say personally the self help. Okay, to cut back on reading so much self help and just try to do it yourself. Um, and if whatever you plan on doing, sit down and make a plan that you want to do that and go ahead and do it. It's not going to be easy in the beginning. It's always going to be rocky if you want to be successful. So you have to just go ahead and go with it, and down the road you'll look back and you'll say, wow, this it was hard at first, but now it has become easy. But she just got to do it instead of thinking about it, and she's putting it seems sound like she's putting too much thought in it instead of just going in and doing it.
Yeah, most people say that between you and getting to the next step, there's one thing that's between you and getting to the next step, and that's actually taking action. So I love how you said just do it. That's definitely one thing that she probably should do is just do it. Um, what do you think about, I hear that there is excessive. So that sounds like a lot. Reading self help and financial books excessively or obsessively, excuse me. So that sounds like there's a lot. Do you think it would be beneficial for her to like cut that in half, maybe, one or two? I don't know what obsessive is. I don't know how many that is. But I can understand where she's coming from because I find myself sometimes when I just be like so into a specific topic or so into a specific theme, I will go in. And I have to tell myself, Laren, back up a little bit, like pump the brakes. This is too much. And there can be like mental overload when you just do too much. So, do you think it's beneficial for her to like scale it down to maybe one or two or just cut it out altogether?
Scale it down until she don't need it at all. I can give an example. That's like me with poetry.
Hmm.
I will write. I can write about water, anything around water. I can write that over and over and twist and turn. It's the same words but differently. And I've done that. And I actually, my brother has said, you use this phrase in another poem. You notice you use this one in another one, and then I had to sit back and think.
Mm.
Then that's when I put my headphones on, some music, and I'm like, I need to find new words.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And but yeah, you can. Hey, I do it too. I get excessive in something, and I don't realize until someone pointed out, and she points it out to me. So I mean, that's the good thing I have. She points it out to me, and that gives me a chance to sit back and okay, let me change these words in here. Let me change all of this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's good that you have a support system. I'm not sure that Miss Nia has a support system based off of this small little information that we have. So that is another key point that I will put down to support system. You want to make sure that you have the right people who are going to encourage you, people who are going to uplift you and help you get to the next level. A lot of times we can't do the things that we want to do in our world because we surround ourselves by the wrong people. We are an average of the five closest people to us. Now, I didn't say that that's what you are. You are only an average of the five closest people that you interact with every single day. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, I limit the people who I have to interact with. And unfortunately, sometimes when we go into the workplace and we go into environments, we have to interact with people. But that's where prayer and meditation comes in after you get up out of some of those situations. So, I get that it might be on your job or it might be in specific places. It might even be family members. And I'm not saying that you're going to cut people off like that, but you definitely have to stay prayed up and make sure that you have a game plan. But a good support system, I say, is good as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, of course. I like for me, I have a good support system. When I go to Austin, I have two friends that I go see, and I go see them because one of them he's well known in Austin. Every festival there is, he'll put me on as a feature, you
Mm,
know, and then I'll go to his house and I'll video him. The other poet that's there, I'll video him, and his wife always say, I'm so glad you stopped by. I'm so glad you stopped by and visit with them. And he does. He gives me a lot of support. And I know one time he told me, he said, look here. He said, don't ever stop doing water. Cause I
mm,
told him I was thinking about you. He no 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 no. He said a lot of people enjoy your water poems or especially when I put them with the video and
mm-hmm,
my background is water. And I had some. I was talking to a friend up in Dallas, and that was the thing he said. He said, "Dude," he said, "Man, most of your poems or your videos I seen, it's water around." And he said that's so relaxing.
absolutely. Yeah. We are made up of water. So, yeah,
Right. And,
might be
and, and it's,
a
yeah. And I tell people, I said I can't swim, but
thing.
but I love water. It's like whenever we go on vacation and try to go to the beach and spend a couple hours there. And I'm shooting videos, I'm taking pictures, and I'm just enjoying it. And like I said, I always tell people, I say I'm like a kid in a candy store when I'm at the beach and I'm around water and sand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I love water. I love the sound of it. It just puts me in a peaceful state, and I'm just like you. When it comes to all that swimming and stuff, like, yeah, certain
Yeah,
in a swimming pool, I can get myself out of a situation, but in some large bodies of water, absolutely not. It's definitely
yeah.
not doing that. So let's wrap this thing up here with Miss Nia. So execution, she has a problem executing. So, what advice would you give her when it comes to executing and finally making this thing work? Like I said, a lot of the issues that we have is self inflicting, and the only thing that we got to do is actually take some action. And sometimes we just procrastinate, and that's the only thing between us and getting to the next level is taking action.
It sounds like she's more worried about what people gonna say.
Mm,
That's what it sounds like to me. I'm just saying for me, it sounds like she's more worried about if she go out there and she take that step somebody gonna say something negative. I
Mm.
don't care how many, somebody will say something negative, but you got to brush it off, and that's something I had to learn. So it, that's all it is. You have to take that first step, and once you get past that first step, and don't let nobody rent space in your head about what you're doing or trying to do. Things will start flowing. At least that's how it had to be for me.
That is so profound that you said that, because I had this conversation. I'll keep the person's nameless because they're near and dear to me, so they're probably listening. But for you out there listening, we had this conversation, and yes, somebody always is going to say something, but a lot of that is inside. It's a lot of internal. A lot of times, the people that we think are saying something about us are going to say something about us. They don't even care. First of all, they don't even really care about you. They too busy worried about what they have going on. And if you think that you got a bad situation, the person next to you might even have it 10 times worse. So while you focusing on what they might say, in reality, they looking at you like you might be a superstar. You might be on point. You might be a genius. How could I be like them one day? And here you are holding yourself back, and they holding you in high esteem. So that's one scenario. And then, like you said, there are the haters out there. If you ain't doing anything, then you ain't gonna have no haters. So if you have people hating on you, if you have people trolling on you, have people saying things negative about you, then that must mean you're doing something. So that's a good statement there. Worried about people pleasing. I don't think that you will be able to get to the next level until you get past that part. When you really don't care about what somebody else thinks, you in some, like, some good, what do they say, fertile ground. You in some
Yes,
real fertile ground when your mind starts to say, I could care less what they think about me. I don't care. Once you get into that area right there, that's some dangerous territory, and not for the negative. It's dangerous on your enemy side, because you're at a breakthrough moment once you get to that part. See, when you're worried about what somebody thinks, and you're worried about what somebody's going to say, then the enemy has control. You've given up your power. But when you
yes,
get to that, you start stepping over on that part where you don't care what people say. That's when it could get a little interesting right there. That's a good spot to be in.
yes. And plus, my support. Like I said, I have I could say I have good support system. I have my three youngest kids and one of my sons up in Ohio. They support everything. They support me a lot. Of course, my better half, she's always there. I have a cousin up in Lansing, and I guess me and the guy I can say we good friends. We just don't talk like we used to. They support, they both support me too. And then I have a couple of poets out in L.A. that support me, and they give me good advice. So I try to surround myself around good people.
Absolutely. Yes. That's very important. So I think we made some justice here with Miss Nia. So uh, how can someone move from consuming so much knowledge and applying it into real life? So people out there listening, if you got your journals, you decided to come along on this mentorship journey with us, I want to say thank you so much. But I think we did some justice, and we're going to go ahead and write some of these things down. So for Nia and anybody else out there, if you're experiencing that, number one, you want to scale down what you have going on. A lot of noise, a lot of chatter could be an issue, but also too much consumption can be an issue too. You can become brain fried. You can just become overwhelmed, where after a while, it's not starting to stick and it's not starting to click. So I would say scale it down to maybe one or two. If you want to do one, self help, and then you want to move into, a financial book. And then another thing that I would put in there is study the information, because if you're anything like me, when I used to be younger, I would just read something and then don't know what the hell I read. Read something and don't know what the hell I read. So take those and study them. Like this budget book from Michelle Keegan that we were speaking about tonight. I have been studying that, and I will be on a book for a good month or so, and when I'm done with it, then I put it up. But I carry that book with me. I'm always referencing that book, and I keep it with me for a minute. So I would that would be my thing to put out there. Execution, just focus on that keyword action. Go in to try to make action. I think we lost Birdman, but he'll be back. Um, Action is key. That's the biggest thing between us actually doing what we want to do is taking that action and having a great support system, because when you decide to go ahead and do something different, you're going to need to make sure that you have the people around you that will support you and help guide you in the right direction versus having the naysayers, the negative people. And I know it sounds rough, but it might be the people that we grew up with. It might be the people in our household, but some people are just no good for us. And once we wake up and realize that, we have to make some better decisions. So, um, yeah, I think that's what I have for that. And thank you so much, Birdman. I see that you came back. Thank you for
Yes.
your insight with us helping Nia. Anything that you like to add for before we close this up and move to the next segment?
No, I've said all what I can say.
That's what's up. Well, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and head on into burning questions. If you like the information that you're hearing tonight, you can text me at 609 200 1098. You can chime in. Let me know what your burning questions are. You can also email me at info at larengaines.com as well. Let us know what you feel about tonight's vibe, tonight's show, the burning questions. You can DM me, put it in the comments, all of that great stuff. Let us know what you got going on. So, the burning question that I have for tonight is, what book has influenced your mindset the most, and how has it changed your perspective on life? One more time. What book has influenced your mindset the most, and how has it changed your perspective on life? What do you have, Birdman? What do you have for us? Is there a
First,
specific book?
yes. Well, I have three books, and first of all, it's the Bible. I read that.
Yes.
That's the first
Yes.
thing I read in the daytime. And then the second one is I read a lot of because I met him when he was 100 years old at a festival. I'm not at his birthday festival out in San Francisco, and that's Lawrence Ferlinghetti.
I'm writing that
And
down.
yeah, and then the other one is Paul Lawrence Dunbar. He's back in the 1800s. He's a black poet, and the things that he did, he was the first black to do a whole lot of things, teaching and putting out books of poems. And both of them are poets, you know. But one more, I like Sigmund Freud. Anything about Sigmund Freud, because that helped me so much get through college and my first, I guess you could say 10 years out of college. It helped me so much. And then I kind of like, you know, went left, as they say.
Hmm.
But those right there, those are the four books or people, however you want to look at it, that I that gives me a lot of inspiration.
That's awesome. Now, I know you said the Bible, and I agree
Yes.
with you because I don't think I'd be where I'm at here today without that. So, what's one of your favorite scriptures or books to read in the Bible?
Psalms 23. And reason why that is, my mother, from the time I was able to read, and my mom, I just, she couldn't read that well because, you know, growing up in the South and during her time, it was hard for her to get to school. But Psalms 23, we used to sit up, and from the time I could read, that was something that we always read. And then from time to time, I would go back to that particular poem. I mean that
Mm,
oh, excuse me, particular scripture. And be honest, Sometimes it brings tears because I'm thinking of my mom, and she actually, said, whenever you're troubled, she said, read this scripture.
Mm, that's amazing. I'm gonna look that up. It's so it could be overwhelming with so much information in the Bible. Um,
Yes.
so offhand, I have to say I don't know that one specifically, but I am definitely gonna look that one up. I think we
Yeah.
had this conversation about that before, but yeah, I'll definitely look that up. Um, I definitely would say the Bible is number one for me as well. I had no idea what I was reading. I was just opening it up and just reading, and I was going through a tough time and um, during a pandemic, and I just kept reading it and reading it. And I even to this day, I just will read scriptures, and sometimes I don't know what it is, and all of a sudden it just starts to click, and then I just start to remember things, and it's just amazing because I'm like before 2020 I like the idea of reading the Bible, but I never really picked it up. But one of my favorite ones for people out there is God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. That's one of my favorites. So whenever I feel that there's any type of fear, anxiety, stress, discord, I remember, yeah, no, God has not given us the spirit of fear. So if I know that He hasn't given us the spirit of fear, then it must be coming from the other end. And as long as I know that I'm not signing up for that, I'm good. So I love that one. I keep that with me a lot. And I will say in 2022, I picked up this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Have you ever heard of that? From
No, no, no. Well, you know what? I might have. If you've seen the library, the books in this house, man, you'll be like, "Oh, okay, then I can't touch that."
I picked
you
I picked up this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I read it, and it just opened me up to a different level. But then that wasn't even a book that did it. There was this book, and I keep it on my desk here. It's called Debt Free Living by Larry Burkett. Um, that was a game changer because there were so many things that these people were making, mistakes that these people were making in this book. And I found myself through all of the pages. And I found my entire life from when I was 20 years old all the way up until I was 40 years old inside this book here. So when there's a book that changed my life, I would say it's that one. And I told my kids, I said, listen, this is the book. This is it. This is the blueprint. I want this to stay in the family for generations to generations to generations because this is what, sparked it right here. So, yeah. And after that, I became like this financial nerd and just all of my books and just a lot. So, that definitely was a game changer for my life and changed me.
That's good. That's good.
And one of my mentors that I look up to, he says, when people say that they don't care about money, that's a lie. Because we get up and we go to work every single day and we go and we spend most of our time with people that we don't even love. More time with people that we don't even love for what? For money. So now if you'll lie about that, you'll lie about anything.
Yeah.
Sit here and say you don't care about money, but you get up and you go to work every day and you spend time with people that you don't even really care and you don't really love more than the people that you actually do. So I made it a mission that, yeah, I gotta, do something about this and I have to fix this and make sure that I'm living the right way. So, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. I appreciate your insight on that. Thank you so much for the people who are joining. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, tag a friend, invite them in. And hopefully I don't get this show mixed up, but we are on Reading Between the Wines. I am on my second glass of wine. I'm just keeping it real. The vibes are good tonight. Vibes are good tonight. Um, do us a favor and let us know where we can follow you, get your information, pick up your new book. Introduce yourself to everybody.
Okay, it's Birdman. You could just say Birdman 313. My books are at Amazon and Goodreads. You can go to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/author poet Birdman 31355. And for Amazon and Goodreads, it's just amazon.com/author/ Birdman 313. Goodreads is just goodreads.com/Birdman 313.
Now, out of all of your books that you have, which one is your favorite?
All of them.
That is a good question.
I'm asked that so much about which poem is your favorite, which book is your favorite, and I'm like, man, if I had a known this, say 15 years ago, I'd have said, man, you crazy, man. I ain't putting no books out. I don't even have a favorite poem, but now I realize all of them are because it's a blessing. For me, it's a blessing that I'm able to put these words out. I'm able to touch people because now when I go and I read something, they'll say, "Hey, man, I felt like I was right there."
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
that feels so good. And don't get me wrong, I've had some negative people. I've had one guy, he said, "Oh, it's nothing but words thrown together." I said, "You know what, man?" I said, "Thank you." Because you know what? That's going to be a title of a poem and a book.
Mm. You know,
And, huh?
go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
And then and you know what? If I get any criticism, it's from the people from San Francisco, Oakland area. I had one lady, I read a poem, and she put in there, "Oh, he didn't mean to say this line. He meant to put it like this." And I'm like, "How can you tell me what I meant to say?"
Right, right.
And you know, but I didn't. I It didn't bother me. I'm like, you know what? Hey, I want to wait and see what she put. And they asked her to read, and she wouldn't even read.
Mm.
And I'm like, how can you criticize what I said? And she did that to it was a couple more poets. She said, that ain't the word, that ain't how that sentence, that's not how they want to write the sentence. They want to write it like this. And I'm like, man, you know, it's some real throwed off people in this world.
My
I'm
my
sorry
men
to say it like that, but you
my
know,
mentor my mentor says that whenever somebody tells you, "Oh, I know how you feel," that's when you want to start pumping the brakes because those people are not inside of you. They don't know what you're feeling. The only person that knows exactly what you're feeling is the man up above. So anybody that comes to you being like, "Man, you don't, you ain't feeling that way," or, "I don't know what your problem is," or anybody that wants to start to try to compromise how you feel and try to tell you how you feel, pump your brakes and you might need to run. So I don't know how somebody is going to tell you what you meant to write and what you were writing as if they were inside of you and they know who you were. So
yeah,
that's a problem. But I'm sitting here holding your book, Street Poems, and as we get ready to close this up, I'm looking at the back cover and I think it's so powerful because it's so powerful what we speak about ourselves. It's so powerful what we say about ourselves. And a lot of times we cannot get the things that we want in our world because our internal dialogue does not match with our external dialogue. You say one thing and you portray something on the outside, but the inner, you're just jacked up. So everything starts with self. So you want to start inner and then it will pour outward. Not trying to dress it up on the outside and then hopefully think it matches up on the inside. It's in reverse. So it also starts with what we think and what we feel about ourselves. So I'm going to just read this on the back here. You wrote, I am blessed. I am prosperous. I am patient. I am motivated. I am successful. I am prepared. I am anointed. I am strong. I am able. I am confident. I am a masterpiece. I am creative. I am talented. I am generous. I am kind. I am disciplined. I am focused. I am victorious. And I am a poet. I know that's right. I am
yeah.
Birdman 313. That's what's up. I like that.
You know that cover there. I think I told you last time. Actually, that cover there is the front and back is when we was in San Francisco. and it
Mm-hmm.
was actually the street that we were staying on. And I took some poem because we had just came from, I think it was either Alcatraz or we had came from Muir Woods. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just taking pictures. And when we got on the street that where our hotel was, I was just taking pictures. And I never thought about using those pictures until I started writing and putting it together. And then I'm like, I'm gonna do a poem. I'm gonna call it called Street Poems. And I gathered my son, actually my youngest son. He was like, Dad, how come you don't do one about beach? And I'm like, hey man, I said, I don't want to bore people. And so then he said, what about the streets? And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. You do have my books, don't you? And so I decided to try to find all the poems about street life, and I put it together. And then I was thinking about what should I use, and I was going around taking pictures. And then I'm like, you know what? I know what I'm gonna do. I went into my vacation pictures. I have a file for vacation pictures, and I pulled up San Francisco, and I'm like, you know what? These two pictures right here. One's gonna be the front, and one's gonna be the back.
That's awesome. I love your book collection. I love how you have multiple ones and you are on fire. You just keep spitting these things out. That's what's up. That's a got a collection. You've been doing it for years, and longevity, and you know that's ties into what we were speaking to about tonight. Making sure you calculate everything up, make sure you do everything that you're supposed to do, so that you will have longevity, so that you can do the things that you love. A lot of times, people start things and they don't finish them because they didn't calculate it and they realize that this was that and that was that, and that's why having a budget will help you. Do the things that you want to do. And it seems like you have mastered that as well. Once you
Can I
get to,
say something? Can I say something on that note?
oh,
I I,
sure.
I completely forgot this. Back in the eight, after I got because I tried out with the Lakers and I tried out with the Rockets, and so like I said, I'm going back to writing every time. Like when the Lakers released me, I said I'm going back to writing, and then I slowed down, got married, and the whole thing. Then when I tried out with the Rockets, I got released, and then what happened was I got hurt, and I hurt my back. That's what it was, and I started writing. I took a little course, and I know I had gathered up a bunch of poems and I sent it into New York to a publishing company. They sent me a contract back, and I had the guy who was my agent when I was trying with the Rockets. I called him up. He said, "Let me look at it." So he looked at the contract and he said, "Oh no, this ain't what you want." And I'm like,
Mm,
"No." He said, "No." He said, "Because," he said, "You know what this is saying?" He said, "How many poems do you have?" And I told him, I said, "Well, I think I was like at 250, but I sent 222 in." He said, "Well, do you realize that if you sign with these people and you pay them this amount of money, it's not guaranteed that you're going to get this money back?" And then he said, plus I forgot how many books per year. And I was like, oh. So he said, why don't you do this? Why don't you? He said, I'll contact him, let him know to send your poems back to you, and you're gonna wait a while and you start writing and you write, and when you get up to like 800 or 900 poems, then he said, because you don't have a they want these poems, like I think they wanted 3 poetry books each year, 3 or 4.
mm,
And that's when I realized, I said, oh man, I don't have that much. He said, right. And he said, plus, he said, they want you to pay. I said, oh no. I
um,
said, it's hard for me to pay for this first one. And
mm,
when that's why I have so many poems, because I just said, skip it. I don't, I'll never get published. So I just started writing, writing, writing. And then some people I met on this poetry site, they said, hey, well, how come you don't send your poems here? You got some good poems. They just as good as ours, and you'll get published. And then I thought about something that Michael Jackson said and Prince said. They both said, they said, we have enough music So whenever we want to put something out, we really don't have to go in the studio.
Mm.
And so I said, okay, I'm gonna have that. I'm gonna do the same thing on my
Right.
com- on my computer. I have a file for manuscripts to be published. I I have like 30 published. I have 30 manuscripts that haven't even been published or nothing, and all of them have at least 75 to 100 poems in each one of them.
Mm. That's a good thing.
And I had people ask me because it was a lady I met at the book festival, and she said agent. I said, oh, you don't want no agent. I said, because the agent gonna do the same thing you doing.
And go want to
And
get paid.
yeah, yeah. And I said, you gonna have, you got to pay the agent.
Mm-hmm.
And what if you don't make your money back? So, and I tell people that, man, you only know agents. That's why so many people go into self-publishing, because number one, self-publishing, you control everything, really.
Yep. I,
And
I get I get so many people that reach out and they want me to do things with the podcast and sign this and sign that, and I won't do it.
yeah, and I tell them, I say, hey, I said, just like I said, like me, I said, I will get on these social medias. I will put it out there. I'll just say, hey, go check my books out at Amazon. Go check my videos out at YouTube. If you don't want to buy the book, hey, the poems in the book is in on YouTube. Some of the poems that's in that book is on YouTube. Go check it out and make your decisions like that. Or when I go to festivals or open mics, I have business cards and I pass them out. I had my logo. My son drew my own logo, and people say, "Hey man, can I draw a logo for you?" I'm like, "Nope." They said, "Why?" I said, "My son. Oh, he can't draw." I said, "Yeah, that's why I'm using him as as the person who do my logo. I'm keeping it in the family."
I know that's right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. It's about legacy building. See, it's about what happens when you're no longer here.
Yes,
Building wealth, building that legacy, and passing things down. And when you pass things down to the next generation, it may not necessarily be wealth, but it's knowledge and information. And then they'll be able to take that and grow and do what they need to do with it.
yeah. My
Yeah.
youngest son, he said he's right. He said, "Dad, I'm writing now." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "What you?" He said, "I'm not writing poetry." I said, "I don't care." I don't care if you writing poetry or not. You writing, and that's all
Right.
that matters. And he said, "I didn't want to tell you, but I thought about what you said. Your dad, when he passed away, he was 85 years old, and he didn't know that you wrote." And
Mm.
then my mom, she was 97 when she passed away, and she found out when she was 92 years old. I went to Mother's Day on the Mother's Day at church. I
Hmm.
handed her a book, and she looked at it and she said, "Oh, what is this? Why is your name on it?" I said, "Mom." She said, "You wrote this?" I'm like, "Yeah." Every Sunday she went to church, she took a Bible and my poetry book with her.
Mm. I remember us having that conversation. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Thank
And
you
my
so.
sister, yeah, and my sister, she just found out a couple years ago. She said, "I didn't know you wrote." She said, "I went to a library, I seen your name up there," and she was like, "What is this? My brother writes?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, "Why didn't you tell me?" I said, "Hey, well, I'm gonna tell you for it." I said, "Hey, you didn't care." I said, "We weren't talking, so I didn't tell you."
I'm gonna tell you this. It's so funny that you say that, or so mystical that you say that. A lot of times, your family will be the ones that don't really support you,
Yeah.
and it's okay. They don't really will support you until they see everybody else doing it.
Yes.
Like they might see it, they may not. Who knows? But 9 out of 10 times, they're not going to be the first people to show up. And I
Most
think
definitely.
people who start businesses and people who start things, they get real hurt in the beginning, and that discourages them because their own family really don't support them. And I had to get over that real quick because um, I just knew that if I continued to think that I was going to wait for somebody to like throw me a little celebration for what I did, That wasn't going to happen. If anything, hell, they discouraged me and told me, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah,
So I said, oh, I got to continue to keep pressing and going so hard so that, when the lights do shine, you're going to be looking like, oh, okay. Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, don't always look for the people in your household to be the ones. They might be the ones that will discourage you.
exactly.
And sometimes that's for the good. Everything that happens for good. Let them discourage you. Let them say whatever they're going to say because that might push you to get you to the next level. Everything ain't going to be easy and handed for you.
That's so true. That's so true.
I want to say thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you sharing your story and your insight. So, how do you feel about tonight's session?
I feel good about it. I feel like this might have been one of the better ones that I've done.
All right. Now, what do you think? You think lights and camera on or lights and camera off? They both have their own little way about
Yeah,
it.
to me, it doesn't make a difference.
Okay, okay.
That's just me, man. Because it doesn't make a difference whether they on, whether they off. I do what I do regardless.
That's what's up. Well, I will see you next week, same place, same time. So, thank you so much,
Okay.
and take care.
And I
You have
want
a
to say I'm sorry about Sunday, man. I was thinking I was at the park. I was out there shooting. I was shooting videos, taking pictures, and then I got your. I said, "Oh man!" So we came on back, and I'm thinking that I was supposed
oh
to come on Sunday. Hey man, I'm sorry about that, man.
no, no, no. That's all right. I'm sorry that you stopped doing what you was doing.
Oh no,
I
I
did.
was finished. No, I was
Oh,
finished because we had went out there early, and I was out there and I was just taking because I for the last 3 days it's been blessing, man. I've been going out to the park. I didn't go today because I was working on some music with a friend, and
hmm.
I've been going out there shooting pictures and shooting videos and reading poems out there. And now, believe it or not, people are kind of like stopping and they're listening to me as I video and read a poem or two.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep getting the reps in. Keep getting the reps in. Everything will show up in divine timing.
Oh yes.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and get on up out of here. And
Thank
I'll
you
see.
for having me on.
No problem. Take care. I'll see you next week.
Okay.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have it. That was author Birdman 313 coming on in, reading between the wines. So, yeah, I've had 2 glasses of this wine, and it's pretty good. It's time for me to get on up out of here, though. I'll tell you that much. So, um, thank you all for joining in. I seen there was a lot of new faces out there. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, tag a friend. This is a new format that we are testing out. So please give me your feedback as far as what you think about tonight's show. And like I said, it's been a journey, and I wind down a little bit. So if I was out of my element today, that's because, Dreambird Pinot Grigio. We definitely sampled that. I love going through the book. I love helping out with the scenarios with Miss Nia in Newark. Thank you, Birdman, for coming in. For those of you out there, please like, comment, share, subscribe, tag a friend. You can text me at 609 200 1098. Let me know what you feel about tonight's show. Let me know what you feel about tonight's burning question. You can also email me at info@laryngaines.com. And you may also DM me as well. I am on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube, D Live, Twitch, Daily Motion. Same place, same time. We're going to be here tomorrow. Coaching sessions Thursday. We have Miss SOS coming in. We will be doing the same thing, dissecting, helping people with everyday problems just like you and me, because just guess what? I am just like each and every one of you. We are all one and the same. We are all interconnected. And some of the things that she might be going through, he might be experiencing the same thing or might have just come out of it, but maybe wasn't brave enough to step up and say something. So if you have a question, if you have a scenario, if you have anything that we might be able to turn it in to something to be able to coach and help develop somebody here on 4-in-1 Podcast Reading Between the Wines mentorship series, please go ahead and pass that information down to me as soon as possible. And we will always change the names and things. I can work some magic to make sure that the innocent is protected if you don't want people to know. And also, you can head on over to LarenGaines.com and you can sign up for my free monthly newsletter, Whispers of Wisdom. Awesome content delivered to your mailbox once a month, motivational, inspirational. You get insights on when we're going to do live podcasts where people could actually see us again. Right now, I'm enjoying this, trust and believe, because there's so many different things that goes on behind the scene here, and without the cameras being on. But I understand that people have requested that they want to see faces and stuff like that. So multiple times throughout the year, we will do that as well. But you'll get all of the insights and you'll know when it's coming ahead of time when you sign up for Whispers of Wisdom. Book reviews, wine reviews, just awesome content delivered to your inbox once a month. And if you like anything that you heard tonight, if you feel that there was some little spark, there was a sensation, there was something that made you say, I want to learn and I want to just dig a little bit more, you can head over to LarenGaines.com and sign up for my free 15-minute consultation. And we'll figure it out. Apply to see if you qualify, to see if we would be a good fit to offer any coaching services for you as well. And on that note, I want to say thank you so much for coming in. Same place, same time. Miss SOS tomorrow for coaching sessions Thursday. Check us out here tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much. I'm going to finish up my glass of Dreambird Pinot Grigio. And on that note, I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you. Take care. Have a good night.